कीर्तन प्रभु प्रेमामृतां बनिधि वीर वीर जन प्रिय प्रिय करो पूजित श्री चैतन्य कृपा भरऊ भुवि भुव भारा वहन तारक वंदे रूप सनातन रघुजुग श्री जीव गोपालक वंदे रूप सनातन रघुजुग श्री जीव गोपालक कृष्ण कीर्तन गान कीर्तन गान नर्तन परम प्रेम में कामनी वीर वीर जन प्रिय प्रिय करो निर्मा पूजित चैतन्य कृपा भरऊ श्री चैतन्य कृपा भरऊ भुवि भुव मारव अंतरक वंदे रूप सनातन रघुजुग श्री जीव गोपालक विचार नहीं तुम्हें पुनः सद्धर्म संस्थापक लोकानां हितकारिणं त्रिभुवने मन्नं शरण करो विचार नहीं कल्पना सद्धर्म संस्थापक लोकानां हितकारिणां त्रिभुवने मन्नं शरण कनपना तद्धर्म संस्थापक लोकानां हितकारिणां त्रिभुवने मन्नं शरणं श्री चैतन्य कृपावरौ लोकानां हितकारिणां त्रिभुवने मन्नं शरणं विचारणैकनिपुणं तद्धर्म संस्थापक लोकानां हितकारिणां त्रिभुवने मन्नं शरणागतं Radha Krishna.
Meet Squibbler, the AI book writer that transforms your ideas into fully developed chapters. With
Maharaja Sadasyaman Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindra ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giridhar ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulasi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Swami Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada and all glories to our revered speaker for today, Her Grace Malati Devi. Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Mother, for being here. Hare Krishna. Good.
Hare Krishna, my obeisances to everyone.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Mother. It's always a blessing to have your association. I believe today we have 2 verses to cover. So if you wouldn't mind, I'll put the verses on the screen and you may start speaking.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Should I start?
Yes, please.
Pardon?
Yes, you may start.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Can you move it up a bit? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading here, 3rd canto, 16th chapter, and I can't see the verse now. And the 28th verse, first can you show me the synonyms, please? And okay, so for those who may not have a book in front of them, the synonyms for this verse. So when we chant the verse, then you have some idea of the meaning. Bhagavantam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Parikramya, after circumambulating. Pranipatya, after offering obeisances. Anumanya, after learning. Cha, and Patijagmuhu, returned. Pamuditaha, extremely delighted. Shamsanta, glorifying. Vaishnavim, of the Vaishnavas. Sriyam, opulence. So go back to the Sanskrit. Thank you. Bhagavantam parikyamya pranipatyanumanya cha patijagmu pramuditaha sham santo vaishnavim shriyaham. So translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The sages circumambulated the Supreme Lord, offered their obeisances, and returned, extremely delighted at learning of the divine opulences of the Vaishnava. Can move it up. Purport. It is still a respectful practice to circumambulate the Lord in Hindu temples. Especially in Vaishnava temples, there is an arrangement for people to offer their respects to the deity and circumambulate the temple at least 3 times. So we see this at Gita Nagari, we see it at New Vrindavan, and likely other places. So now we will go to text 29. Synonyms. Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anugao, to attendants. Aha, said, Yatam, depart from this place. Ma, let there not be. Bashtam, fear. Asto, let there be. Sham, happiness. Brahma, of a Brahmana. Teja, the curse. Samartha, being able. Api, even. Hantum, to nullify. Naiche, do not desire. Matam, approved. Too. On the contrary, may, by me. Get the Bhagavan Anugavaha Yatamabhaishtamastu Brahmateja Samartopi Hantum Nashi Matam Tume. And now Prabhupada's translation. The Lord then said to his attendants Jai and Vijay, depart this place, but fear not. All glories unto you. Though I am capable of nullifying the Brahmana's curse, I would not do so. On the contrary, it has my approval. Purport by His Divine Grace. As explained in connection with text 26, all the incidents that took place had the approval of the Lord. Ordinarily, there is no possibility that the 4 sages could be so angry with the doorkeepers, nor could the Supreme Lord neglect his 2 doorkeepers, nor can one come back from Vaikuntha after once taking birth there. All these incidents, therefore, were designed by the Lord himself for the sake of his pastimes in the material world. Thus, he plainly says that it was done with his approval. Otherwise, it would not have been possible for inhabitants of Vaikuntha to come back to this material world simply because of a Brahminical curse. The Lord especially blesses the so-called culprits. Oh, glories unto you! A devotee, once accepted by the Lord, can never fall down. That is the conclusion of this incident. Om Gyantimirandasya Janana Sakalaya Chakshum Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskatya Desatarane Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vansha kalpatarubhyascha Kripa sindhu vaevyacha Patitanam pavanevambhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, again, my obeisances to everyone, wherever you are. Before I begin the class, I would humbly request prayers on behalf of Kratuma Prabhu. Some of you may know him. He is one of the initiating spiritual masters in ISKCON and has always preached in concert with his wonderful wife. And now he's in a pretty much life and death, heading toward death situation. Yesterday, there was no level of consciousness other than, you get your little medical monitors. Today, the only level of consciousness is that he's continuously chanting Sat Goswami, which means he's at a level of ecstatic consciousness. And it's up to Krishna if he comes or goes, but I'm looking at it like this. He's 81 years old, and he's been serving Prabhupada with great devotion for practically speaking, his entire life. Srila Prabhupada left this planet at the age of 81, so it just could be Prabhupada's calling him, now you come, now you come. Whether he comes or goes, he's an ecstatic devotee, and please pray for his well-being, which it will be in either direction. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. So the Lord is so merciful that even if there is some impediment for the devotee, and actually this is amazing. I took this from like the first verse in this chapter, and then when I read it, so even if there's some impediment for the devotee, he himself manages matters in such a way that the devotee is not bereft of having audience of the Lord's lotus feet. So I was thinking about Kratos, so he is just appearing unconscious to whatever's going around. They put some tube in him, you know how they do all these things, but Sat Goswami Astakam, there's the physical impediments, but still the devotee is not bereft of the Lord's lotus feet. Those who are qualified brahmanas, they worship only Vishnu, the Vishnu form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this specifically means Krishna, Rama, and all the Vishnu expansions. So a so-called brahmana who's born in a family of brahmanas but performs activities aimed against the Vaishnavas cannot be accepted as a brahmana, because brahmana means Vaishnav, and a Vaishnav means brahmana. And I mean, right now, there are people claiming to be brahmanas, and they are members of ISKCON, and they're confused about this point, and they're highly critical against other devotees and against ISKCON and the way Srila Prabhupada set up ISKCON, which means they're actually critical of Prabhupada. They think they are big brahmana and they are speaking out how things should be, but they're criticizing devotees, they're criticizing ISKCON, and that means they're criticizing Prabhupada. That means they're smarta. And smarta Brahmins are like a disease that if they cannot be corrected, they should just be, there's the door, use it. One who has become a devotee of the Lord is also a Brahmana. And a Brahmana means one who has understood Brahman, and a Vaishnav is one who has understood the personality of Godhead. So Brahman realization is the beginning of the realization of the personality of Godhead. And one who is understanding the personality of Godhead will also know inherently the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord, which is Brahman, but is not ever attracted to the devotees. One who becomes a Vaishnav is already Brahmana. And then it should be noted that the glories of the Brahman that were described in this chapter we're currently reading, described by the Lord himself, and refers to his devotee Brahmanas, or the Vaishnavas. So it should never be misunderstood that the so-called Brahmanas who are born in Brahmana families but have no Brahmana qualifications and more importantly, are not devoted to Krishna, that is who is being referred to in this connection. So, none of us before coming to Krishna consciousness, we didn't know about these things. We didn't know about sacred threads, or if we did, we didn't understand really what it was about. And we had no understanding how everything is intended to connect us to Krishna, the personality of Godhead. And if it doesn't do that, then it should be discarded and rejected. So it's stated in this verse and other places in the Gita, even if one is not born in a Brahmana family, or even if he's born in a family of Chandalas. So, okay, we all know Chandala means dog eater, although probably most of us have never actually experienced meeting a dog eater, but the idea is lowest of the low. Somebody's eating a dog is just lowest of the low. But even that person, if they take the Krishna consciousness, they become purified. So in the Bhagavad Gita 9:30-32, it's clearly stated that even a man who's not well behaved, means no culture, if that person takes the Krishna consciousness, then he is understood to be a saintly person. As long as a person is in the material world, he has two different relationships and in his dealings with others. So one relationship pertains to the body and the other pertains to the spirit soul. Now, sometimes people use this particular verse to excuse unacceptable behavior. Srila Prabhupada in many places made it clear that when one premeditates, when you think about it, you make a plan and then you carry out some devious behavior, you're not covered there. It's not acceptable and nor is it excusable. But somebody who, due to circumstances, may accidentally, without intention, trip, fall down, commit some offense, that is what is being excused, and that is what is being referred to as saintly person. So one who takes to Krishna consciousness is understood to be fully purified. And if he at least engages in the process of purification, if he sticks to the principles of Krishna consciousness, very soon one becomes fully purified. So then anyone who's taken to Krishna consciousness, it's understood that you're engaged in the process of purification. And the Lord is accepting you as a devotee and will not tolerate any convenience on the part of that devotee. And therefore the Lord is known as Bhaktavatala, the friend of the bhaktas. Out of his humbleness, there's examples of this, and one such example, Haridas Thakur, he was a Muslim, and even he condemned himself. I'm just born in this low-class family, but he was a bhakta. And Advaita Acharya Prabhu, being a very experienced devotee, accepted Haridas Thakur as a real Brahmana. And in doing so, there's that famous situation where he's doing the Shraddha ceremony, and he offered the first offering, the first dish, to Haridas Thakur. That is this custom that you offer to the Brahmins first, and not just any Brahmin, the highest level Brahmin. And so by the understanding of Advaita being an experienced devotee, that highest Brahmana, the one with the greatest understanding, was Haridas Thakur. And he said, even Haridas Thakur said, why are you offering to me? And he answered, by offering to Haridas Thakur, he was getting the results of feeding 100,000 Brahmanas. So the conclusion is, if one can feed a Brahmana or a Vaishnav, it's better than performing hundreds or thousands of sacrifices that don't connect you to Krishna. So in this stage, therefore, it's recommended Harinama, 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 Eva Kevalam. And we read this from the Adi Leela 21, chanting the holy name of God and pleasing the Vaishnavas. These are the only means to elevate oneself in spiritual life. Like the material world, it's a shadow of the spiritual world. So what is a shadow? It's a reflection. It's no substance, you know. Um, so the material world exists temporarily. It's a shadow, no substance. Real opulence is in the spiritual world. And in the spiritual world, the predominating deity is the Lord himself. Whereas in the material world, there's just so many lords. I mean, everybody's trying to lord it over. So you get, subjected to so many different uncomfortable situations. But that is the difference between the internal and the external energies. The defenseless creatures, according to Brahma Samhita, are the cows, the brahmanas, the women, children, and old men. And out of these five, the brahmanas and the cows are especially mentioned in this because the Lord is always anxious about the benefit of the brahmins and to the cows. And he especially instructs that no one should be envious of these five, the cows, brahmanas, women, children, old men. No one should be envious of any of them, but especially the cows and the brahmanas. So, and we see it sometimes. We see it sometimes like, oh, why is this person getting served first? Why so much attention for the cows, so much money on for the cows? Like, unfortunately, such souls are, it's what I call self-condemnation. So those who are, so the defenseless creatures, that means the cows, brahmanas, women, children, old men, especially the brahmins and cows must be cared for. And no one should be envious of them or any of the five. And those who are helpless must be taken care of by the respective guardians. Otherwise, the guardians will be subjected to the punishment of Yamaraj for, neglecting your duty. And Yamaraj is appointed by the Lord to supervise the activities of sinful living creatures. Not a really great role to have because, like devotees, no matter whoever you are, you see another devotee and there's some recognition, some welcoming, but Yamaraj, you just see his shadow and you're going to run away. Nobody wants to be welcomed by Yamaraj. So this incident with Jai Vijay proved that those who have once entered Vaikuntha planet can never fall down. So I don't want to get into the whole discussion here because it's been going on for decades. But Prabhupada explains it so well in this chapter that the case of Jai and Vijay was not a fall down, it was just an accident. And the Lord is always anxious to get such devotees back again to the Vaikuntha planets ASAP, as soon as possible. So it's to be assumed that there is no possibility of a misunderstanding between the Lord and the devotees. But if there are some discrepancies when it happens, a discrepancy or a disruption between one devotee and another, somebody's going to suffer some consequences. But that suffering is only temporary. It's not like, lifelong eternal condemnation. So there's no difference between the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord, and his speech, for he stands on an absolute platform. So just like that's why this chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the names of the Lord, is so powerful, because there's no difference between the Lord and his name and his speeches. So the sages tried with wide open ears to understand the words from the lips of the Supreme Lord. And even though his speech was very concise and meaningful, still the sages couldn't comprehend what he was saying. I mean, I'm sure every one of us has had the experience of listening to a very advanced devotee and suddenly realizing, what is he saying? You know, it's like way above your comprehension at the moment. So in the same way, they couldn't understand what he was saying. They couldn't even comprehend the purport of the speech or what the Supreme Lord wanted to do. And they couldn't even understand whether the Lord was angry at them or whether he was pleased at them. Therefore, we can understand the incredible value of Srila Prabhupada's purports and the necessity of reading them, not just glancing over, but reading them in the mood of study, because otherwise we will also find ourselves bewildered, or we'll be making miscalculated assumptions. So Prabhupada kindly shined the light on reality for us through his purports. In the material world, the highest opulence is called Parameshwaya, the Parameshwaya, the opulence of Brahma. But that material opulence of Brahma, who's living on the topmost planet within the material world, it can't compare to the opulence of the Supreme Lord. Sometimes Prabhupada said, you can't care a fig. I don't know where that "it can't compare a fig" expression comes from. It probably uses. I mean, it's meaningless. It's this little, because the transcendental opulence in the spiritual world is caused by Jogamaya, whereas the opulence in the material world is caused by Mahamaya. So this Jogamaya is like overwhelming love that just covers the bhakta with such love that they cannot actually comprehend that the object of their love, Krishna, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Mahamaya, you're overwhelmed with stunning ignorance, you know. So we should always be hoping that along the way we can be stunned by the Yogamaya and not by the Mahamaya. So some people say that regardless of what one does, no matter what path you follow, all roads will lead you to the same destination. You'll all go to God's home, or the Christians say to heaven. But this is just not valid. It's such a miscalculated concept that the Lord is eternal. The Lord's servitor is eternal. The Lord's abode is eternal. And they're all described as Sanatan, are eternal. And the result of devotional service, therefore, is not temporary, as is the achievement of the heavenly planets by worshiping demigods or some great activity in the material world. I mean, in the material world, there's danger at every step. We know that. Yadam, padam, padam. Every step is danger. In the spiritual world, there is absolutely minus zero, no danger. I mean, just for one thing to consider, no danger in the material world. So there are many kinds of mystics, like the karma yogis, the jnana yogis, dana yogis, bhakti yogis, and in particularly the karmis, they search after the favor of the demigods. They want something, you know, an exchange. And the jnanis, they want to be one with the supreme absolute truth. And the yogis, they are satisfied simply by a partial vision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Paramatma, you know, ultimately by oneness with him. But the bhaktas, the devotees, we want to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in person and eternally serve him. The Lord is eternal. And as those who want the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, we are also eternal. So actually, everyone needs the favor of the Lord for a successful understanding of our human mission. No, we are, from the moment we step out of the womb and start breathing, whether we want to or not, we're on a mission, the mission of human life. And that mission is to simply go back to Godhead, to eternally serve the Supreme Lord. Vaishnavas are always engaged in rendering service to the Lord's lotus feet. So the conclusion is no one can be a benefactor of the Lord. Everyone is always a servant of the Lord. Just because we serve Krishna doesn't mean we're benefiting him. That service benefits us. Big difference. And therefore, the Vaishnavas, our desire is to constantly render service to the Lord's lotus feet, to please him. And knowing if he's pleased, then our position as a devotee is very clear, secure. So then Lakshmi. Lakshmi is the goddess of fortune. And this is something really, it's an interesting meditation. Sometimes Lakshmi becomes envious of the tulsi leaves that are placed at the lotus feet of the Lord. And the reason is because they're fixed there, they don't move. But Lakshmi, although she's stationed at the chest of the Lord, sometimes to satisfy her many devotees, she has to leave the Lord, who are praying for her favor. So she has to leave the Lord to satisfy her devotees. But Tulsi leaves never forsake their position. And the Lord therefore appreciates the service of Tulsi more than the service of Lakshmi ji. So beautiful meditation. And Tulsi is always sacred. So we, as her servitors, should be very careful how we treat her. And nowadays, it's very popular to put Tulsi in toothpaste and cosmetics and many different remedies. But for devotees, when we see this, just back off. Don't become, deluded by seeing, because if you use these products which engage Tulsi in the service of your body, then your vision of Tulsi becomes diluted. Tulsi is an eternal servitor of Krishna, and she never, ever leaves his lotus feet. She's always sacred. And those who aren't situated in the quality of goodness find it very difficult. They just can't actually accept the three principles of spiritual culture. So in the Krishna consciousness movement, there are three sinful activities that are prohibited, and that's illicit sex, intoxication, and eating any food other than prasad, which means food that's offered to Krishna. So these three prohibitions are based on the principles of austerity, cleanliness, and mercy. So devotees are merciful, automatically merciful, because they spare the poor animals. And they are clean because devotees are free from contamination of unwanted foodstuff and unwanted habits. And austerity is represented by restricted sex life. So our leaders of ideal character, are needed, not only in our society, but in the entire of human society. And Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appeared in this material world just to show the example of perfect authority. Like people hear authority, and get kind of like cringe back up, authority, not for me. Perfect authority is given by the example and the teachings of Krishna. And people should follow his path. The Vedic injunction is no one can understand the absolute truth by mental speculation or logical argument. One must follow liberated authorities. The Mahajana Yana Gata Sa Pantaha. Otherwise, if we simply depend on the scriptures, we are sometimes misled by rascals. I'm quoting Prabhupada here, or else we cannot comprehend or properly follow the different spiritual injunctions unless we're fully liberated. So we follow liberated authorities. And in ISKCON, our Acharya, our authority is Srila Prabhupada, no one else. except for those he has introduced to us, like the Sat Goswamis, etc. So to avoid ourselves becoming unnecessarily confused and complicated, stick to Srila Prabhupada's teaching, stick to his books, stick to his instructions. Don't try to manipulate or adjust to your convenience. And as Prabhupada would say, then everything will be all right. For the actual advancement of human civilization, the best part of the social body is the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, and the Vaishyas, like the intelligent class, the military class, and the mercantile class. They should be given special attention and protection. Protection of the laborers should not be neglected, but a body without a head doesn't function. So special protection should be given to the upper orders in order to maintain the continuance of society at its optimum aspect. We should try to understand the appearance of Lord Krishna in the same spirit that the Kumaras prayed to him. So he's eternally a cowherd boy in Vrindavan. He is eternally the leader of the battlefield of Kurukshetra. The battlefield of Kurukshetra 5,000 years plus ago is not finished. It's perpetually going on. And Krishna is always there leading. And he's eternally the opulent prince of Dwarka, the lover of the damsels of Vrindavan. All of his appearances are meaningful because they show Krishna's real characteristics to the conditioned souls who have forgotten a relationship with Lord Krishna. Just like when Prabhupada came to London, that very famous question, why have you come? I've come to teach you what you have forgotten, love of God. So Krishna does everything for our benefit. The force exhibited in the battle of Kurukshetra by the desire of Krishna and through the agency of Arjuna was necessary because people had become irreligious. So force was required. Nonviolence in this respect, Prabhupada quote, nonviolence in this respect is rascaldom because there's no protection. So I don't want to comment on the current state of world politics because some of that is like a little bit outside. It's not based on religion. It's based on social and economic convenience or inconvenience, depending how you look at it. The sages, the four Kumaras, they rejected the curse that they gave to Jai and Jai when they became conscious. And they understood persons who engage in the service of the Lord actually can't be at fault at any stage. It's said that anyone who has implicit faith in the service of the Lord or who actually engages in transcendental loving service has all the good qualities of the demigods. And therefore, a devotee can't be at fault. Or if sometimes it's found that he's in error by accident or some temporary arrangement, that shouldn't be taken very seriously, or it shouldn't be taken as an eternal condemnation. Even karmis can kind of understand this. About a week ago or so, there was a situation where some students, high school students, were pranking their favorite teacher out of fun and affection. And the teacher was expecting it. It was, he had a good relationship with these kids. They loved him. But an accident occurred and the teacher was killed. And these boys were given severe charges like murder. And it was terrible, like trespassing, murder, etc. And then the family of the teacher intervened and they said, please, please drop all these charges. This was not an intentional situation. There was no ill intent. The wife was speaking. My husband was expecting the prank. He was waiting for them to come. And they stopped when they realized that what happened is he slipped in the mud and they ran over him with a vehicle. They stopped immediately to render aid. They didn't run away. They didn't try to deflect responsibility. Fortunately, the lawmakers kind of woke up and understood that they should be forgiven, and they dropped all the charges. So that's kind of like what happens sometimes. A devotee sometimes makes a mistake, and sometimes this can be a pretty grievous mistake. But when there's no ill intent and when there's full remorse, then one can understand, yes, this person is still a devotee. He's a devotee. He just, there was a mistake. So, but we are not to take advantage of this. That is the thing. In the Bhagavad Gita, 4, it is also said that the Lord appears to take protection, to give protection to the devotees and to annihilate the non-devotees. So the non-devotees, they're in the material world. They're not in the spiritual world. And the Suragyan, the devotees, were cursed by the sages to go to the Asuragyan, or to atheistic families. So that a devotee should come into an atheistic family, we're talking about Jai and Vijay, that is surprising, but it's simply a show. And after finishing their mock fighting, both the devotee and the Lord are again reunited and associated in the spiritual planets. And sometimes it's by the Lord's desire. Devotees come to this material world as preachers or as atheists. But in each case, we should understand that there's a plan of the Lord. An example Prabhupada gave is Lord Buddha, and another example is Vishaka Devi Dasi, our beloved Vishaka. She was born into a family of atheists, and from her youngest childhood up through passing college, she was a staunch atheist. Just like little Prahlad would preach to his classmates about Lord Krishna, Vishakadevi Dasi was preaching to her classmates about atheism. But by the mercy of a pure devotee, of course, that all changed. Our mission is to see Sarve Sukhino Bhavantu. Our mission is to see everyone become happy. We don't want to see that we exploit somebody else and now I'm happy. No, we want to see everyone happy because they don't know how to become happy. And therefore, we are trying to spread this Krishna consciousness movement so that everyone will be happy. This was Srila Prabhupada speaking at a wedding, actually, in Los Angeles. So this Krishna consciousness movement means facilitating all devotees so they remain enthusiastic and determined to grow to their full potential. And Srila Prabhupada offered us such facility. His followers are meant to offer the same Krishna consciousness to others. That is our sacred duty. So protection in Krishna consciousness is ultimately meant to help one advance spiritually. The protection of Krishna is you're fully, perpetually protected. Twakta deham punarjanma naete. You don't get any more material body. That is real protection. So, before the age of Kali, the Brahmanas, the cows, the women, the children, and old men were given proper protection from a purport 185. So the protection of the Brahmanas maintains the varnashram, the most scientific culture for attaining spiritual life. And the protection of the cows maintains the most miraculous form of food, milk for maintaining the brain. And the protection of women maintains our chastity, by which we get good children for peace and progress in life. And the protection of children gives the human form of life a chance to prepare for liberty from material bondage. And lastly, the protection of old men gives them a chance to prepare themselves for life after death. So children must be taken care of. That's good. And women also. Prabhupada said, just like old men like me, I'm always taken care of. That is civilization. This is human society. So here Prabhupada gave himself as an example of a protected person. And by protecting old men, it didn't limit Prabhupada's ability to perform, but it was enhanced and expanded exponentially. And thus the Hare Krishna movement was, as mentioned sometimes, a Hare Krishna explosion. Because Prabhupada was able to fully use his full capacity to expand Krishna consciousness and help each one of us similarly become Krishna conscious. Now, sometimes we find ourselves in a quandary, and Prabhupada commented on this. One thing is, our process of Krishna conscious, if it is followed with determination and enthusiasm, automatically it has the effects of fixing us, our body, mind, and soul, to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, so that all sorts of fluctuations of the material nature, all sorts of difficulties and discrepancies of life, they're easily withstood. But how is that? And Prabhupada said, first, you have to agree to understand the process and follow it scrupulously. Consider, first, you have to agree to understand the process and follow it scrupulously. So Krishna consciousness has a great potency to deliver us to the highest platform of perfection, but only if it's understood by the intelligence. And then Prabhupada continued, from your letter, I can understand you're confused in your mind because you don't want to do this, you do not want to do that. You might like another, you might like this or that. That position of confusion is not very desirable. So you are a Vaishnav. Rid yourself of such misunderstandings of things. Vaishnav means, now here's a beautiful definition of a Vaishnav to consider. Vaishnav means one who is able to sit down anywhere under any condition and be happy. What did Prabhupada always end his lectures? Usually, now chant Hare Krishna and be happy. That's the Vaishnav, one who can sit down anywhere under any condition and be happy. He only wants a little place to lie down, a little prasadam, and if there's a little service, he can do it gladly. Let me gladly do it for Krishna. That's all. And as long as we're thinking, I want this, that's not to my liking, if I adjust things to a certain way, everything will be better. These thoughts are material, but devotional service is not conditional. So Prabhupada ended by telling him, stop this dreaming state. And then he said something very profound. Nowadays, it seems many of the older disciples, like yourself, are having difficulty. If you do not set the example for the younger students and you take the responsibility of instructing them in the right line, how will things go on? Try to always study our books and see our philosophy from different lights of direction. Become convinced yourself of this knowledge. Big instruction. Become convinced yourself of this knowledge. And without a doubt, all of your difficulties of mind will disappear forever, and you will see Krishna face to face. Without a doubt, your difficulties of mind will disappear forever, and you will see Krishna face to face. It was Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. So I think I managed to leave a few minutes if anybody had any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mother, as always. Dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, reflections, realizations, you may want to ask or share, please, you may indicate.
Just 1 minute. I'm having, my hearing aids aren't functioning properly.
Oh.
So you either have to like shout at me or something so I can hear properly.
Okay. Okay. Right. So devotees, if anyone may have questions, please, you may ask. See, Mother, thank you so much. I believe that the Supreme Lord is in the hearts of each and every one. And he understands what's going on in my heart. He understands what's going on in his heart, in her heart, everybody's heart. And I would say for the past 2-3 weeks, we've had many speakers on this platform who have shared with us some of the challenges some of us are facing, even though they've never been told of what's going on. That is challenging to the devotees. And so today, also, most of what you shared are concerns that some devotees are having. And particularly, what I would like to say is that, one, you talked about how Krishna is so merciful, and you were referencing Bhagavad Gita 9:30, wherein Lord Krishna is saying that if even one commits the most abominable act, if he's still a devotee, he is still saintly. And so some people, some devotees think that anything, anyhow, anytime a devotee misbehaves, do not say anything. But you helped us understand that that is not the intent of what Krishna meant. Again, you talked about Srila Prabhupada is the founder Acharya of Hare Krishna movement, ISKCON, nobody else. And he gave us standards of how to run his movement, how to worship the deities. He gave them all to us. And in today's world, in some parts of ISKCON world, the leaders who are supposed to make sure that Srila Prabhupada's standards are adhered to are not. And no matter how someone approaches to remind or ask why this is the case, when Srila Prabhupada said this is how it's supposed to be, such a person becomes an enemy, he becomes labeled as disrespectful, but it's painful, very, very painful to see what Srila Prabhupada established go into the drain. And there are those who are supposed to be the caretakers, they don't care. And they do not just care. If you want to correct it, no matter how you approach it, you are deemed a demon. It's very painful. And I do not know what to do. But I say, thank you for speaking the way you spoke. We will try as much as we can to address it, as much as we can. We leave the results in the hands of Guru and Krishna. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Did you get my concern, Mother? Mother Malati? Yeah, Hare Krishna. I was asking if you got my concern. I don't think so.
I can't hear.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, she didn't. But at least devotees here, you heard what I said. And if any of you feel my expression is like wrongly fetched, I'm exaggerating, or I'm concocting or whatever, please, you have every right to also correct me. I'm not perfect, but I'm speaking from my experience and observation that these things have been going on in some parts of ISKCON world, and the leaders who are supposed to make sure that these mistakes are never done, or at least are never repeated, they look on unconcerned. And not just unconcerned, no matter what you say, no matter how you address it, you are deemed demon. And I'm saying it's painful.
Speak
Well,
loud.
one thing I will say, if suppose somebody comes and criticizes you, says something, it's either a fact or it's not, or maybe it's a little mixed. But personally, I never defend myself, even if it's what they're saying is wrong. I just thank them, and I consider that even what they say is not right, but there's something for me to learn here. Because if you try to defend yourself, then you're going to have an argument. So just accept what comes your way with the mood that Krishna sent this person to help me, even if what they're saying isn't exactly on point. There's a reason for it that I need to figure out.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you.
And the other
Mother,
thing is, when you have to bring up something, a tough topic, an uncomfortable topic, especially to a leader who doesn't want to hear it, you've got to meditate. How can I speak so that I can be heard? In other words, just to come up to, and throw out something, then the person feels attacked, and naturally they're going to rebel. So we need to speak truthfully, but in a way that we can be heard.
thank you for your motherly advice, as always. Thank you so much, Mother Malati. Did anyone have something to say or ask?
Anyway, it's now about time to chant Gayatri.
Yes.
That my thing. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. And also thank you for reminding me, because I didn't realize it until I saw your message, like, oh my God, it's today.
Well,
So, this old body, this old mind is like,
yes,
thank
yes,
you.
we understand. Thank you, Mother, for sharing with us about what's going on with His Grace Kretu Prabhu.
Yes, please pray for
some
him.
some of us are aware of it. And even though we are sinful, we are unqualified, but we'll go before Srila Prabhupada and Sri Krishna and pray to them on his behalf anyway. And it's nice. We are trying to worship and serve Sri Krishna. He never forgets any single good thing one ever did for him. So with that in mind, with all these years of service to Srila Prabhupada and Sri Sri Radha Krishna, they will never forget his service. And his service is actually his main benefit he can ask for. So we will still pray, even though we are not qualified, that Sri Krishna, Sri Prabhupada do whatever is necessary. If they have to call him back, they try to make it a little bit smoothly for him so that he can be with your lordships once again. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Hare Krishna.
And dear devotees, we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute yourselves, and we all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our deepest appreciation to our revered speaker, Her Grace Malati Devi, our beloved auntie, for sharing her love and wisdom with us all. Please, you may unmute Jai. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Hare.
Hare
Vancha kalpa tarabhyascha kripa sindhya vacha patitana pavanebhyo
Vaishnavibhyo
Vaishnavibhyo
Namo Namo.
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Glories to Grace Malati Devi ki jai. Jagat Guru Param Guru Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
All Prasad Vaishnava Vaishnavi devotees ki jai.
Jai.
And all glories to His Grace Kratu Prabhu ki